Okay, so we are back, we are live, we are rolling. Welcome along to this second session for this week. Last time we looked at the two things that you can sell online, which were nano products and online courses, both terrific assets to sell in your business. Now in this session, we're going to continue by looking at continuity programs and also coaching. So that's the subject for today. Let's go straight to the presentation because we've got a lot to get through. And let's get this all sorted out here on my desktop. Fiddle around with a few buttons here and hopefully we should be, you should be able to see the presentation. So if you're on live, let me know if you can see that. That would be terrific. And that is the topic for today. We're going to go through continuity, which is basically recurring income. So that's where, like a membership site, for example, something that a subscription service that rebills every month. Usually, sometimes it's quarterly, sometimes it's annual. And also coaching as well, which is another area that has really just exploded over the last few years and continues to go from strength to strength. So let's go and have a look and get stuck into this. All right, so whoa, what did I do there? Let's go back. Here we go. So let's start with continuity. So if you boil it down, what this means is selling once and getting paid repeatedly. If you think when you sign up for Netflix or Audible or any of the other subscription-based services out there, you're buying it once, but then you get charged for as long as you want to use it. That's the model. And this is really powerful because of one of the fundamentals in all business, which is that it's a lot easier to sell to existing customers than acquire new ones. It's a lot cheaper to sell to existing customers than acquire new ones. And effectively, that's what continuity does. It's bringing in money from existing customers, say month after month or every year or whatever the frequency is of the program. So it's very powerful in terms of that. Another thing is what I call the great continuity shift. And that's really the huge rise in subscription services and information products. So you can go on Google and you can look up statistics on this, which it's quite amazing. Also, though, anecdotally, just from your everyday experience, you can see this to be the case, right? We've already mentioned Audible and Netflix just a moment ago, but many other things that used to be one-time pays are now moving on to subscription. So if you look at something like Microsoft Office, that used to literally walk into a store, pay for a box with CDs in it, take it home, and you put that in. And then when they released the new model, you'd go back to the store and buy another box. That moved online, and now it's a pay per year, pay every year, or I think maybe even monthly sometimes, whatever program you choose. Renting videos, right? I used to work years and years ago in a video library, or we had a video library in the gas station, the petrol station I worked in. And people would come in and pay their £3, $4 or whatever to rent the video on Saturday night. Now, of course, you pay for something like Netflix or Amazon Prime on subscription every month, and that's where you get it. So there's everywhere you look almost. There's also things like, you might have heard of things like Masterclass, which is online. You look that up on YouTube. Again, that's an information-based service, so information products that they're selling on subscription. So it's all of these things we're talking about are huge trends going forward. Very, very exciting. Now, I've had continuity in payments come to me every 2 weeks without fail since 2011. So continuity, or membership recurring billing, is something that I got onto quite early on in my career. Remember, if you've been watching along, I began in 2010. So a year or so later, I started my first continuity program. And what I found overall with it is it's not the biggest earner in my business. I've not been somebody who's just only done continuity. I've done a lot of other things as well. But even though it's not the biggest earner for me personally, it will be for other people, of course, but for me personally, it hasn't been. But it's been there every single month. In fact, twice monthly payments. All right, that's how I get paid on the products that I sell based on continuity, and that's just brilliant because it basically means even if you don't do anything for a month, you're still getting all your costs covered. Basically, our living expenses, just as a baseline. So there's never any pressure to I've got to sell next week. That last week was okay, but now next week, and you're constantly on this treadmill. So continuity might not give you a huge amount of money right then in one go, but it's smoothed over time. And it's quite amazing if you go back and look and add up all these little payments that keep coming in, how much it actually adds up to, especially you can probably imagine over many years like I've been doing it. It really is a fantastic business model. So let's carry on. Someone's saying Roy's saying the volume very low again. Anyone else having trouble with the volume, or is that okay? Let me know, please. Let's continue. So there's a number of myths around continuity as well. One of them is that, members only stay for 3, maybe 4 months and then they leave. You might have heard that, or if you haven't yet, because you're beginning, you probably will. There's a number of perpetual myths that go around. They get passed around. No one's quite sure where they originated or whether they're true. Well, I can tell you it's not true from experience, from doing this for many, many years. Here's an example, right? Of course, some people do leave after 3 months. Some people will leave 2 days after they sign up, right? Because they might not like it. Same with Netflix, right? Or Audible. People subscribe and then they think, do you know what? I haven't got time for this, or it's not. I don't think I'll continue, and they cancel, of course, right? So there's many people staying all sorts of lengths. However, with continuity, you can get what I call the long tail, and that's a small amount of subscribers that stay for long periods. Take a look at this. How about 7.5 years? So one of the programs I've got, I don't really use ClickBank much anymore. I prefer Thrivecart, which is what I use, but still have some legacy programs and products on different platforms, one of which is ClickBank. And every time there's a billing, which is monthly in my case, to customers, the number ticks up. So if you look up here, there's 90. So that's the 90th payment, 90th monthly payment that this particular customer has made. All right, and you can see the date down there. Now, there are lots of people like this that have stayed with me, paying me every single month for, in this case, 7.5 years, or 6 years, or 5 years. A few probably even longer than this. Okay, so this myth, 3 months, then that's it, it's gone, is not really true. Right, I want to just double underline, right, this is a minority of people. Of course, I'm not saying that everyone in your program is going to stay 7.5 years. Of course I'm not, all right? But what I am saying is that some people, that can happen, and it certainly does happen to me. There are many people who have stayed for many, many years, continuing to pay. So again, just think about that. One sale, that's all that happened. One sale. And 7.5 years later, the best part of a decade almost, you're still getting revenue. That's pretty powerful. And that is the underlying potency of continuity. So where does continuity work best? Well, people want and need continued inspiration and motivation, support and momentum to get to their goals. So if you think about building a business, it's never ending. You can always do better. You always want to strive for more. It's not just a problem that you fix and that's it, it's done. You want to continue, all right? That's the market I'm in. If you look at the old market I used to be in, or a few years ago, the stock market, that's another area where you'll never be perfect. You can always improve your investing or your trading. There's always more to learn. There's constant news coming out all the time that you can digest. So it's very well suited to long-term continued learning. And personal development. You never stop improving yourself. Okay, many hobbies are like this. So gardening, for example, it's not something that people do for a short period, job done, I don't need anything more. It's a continued process. One of the key things, if you compare it to online courses, which are great, by the way, I've done many online courses and it's a booming area, but people can go through the course in 10 modules or maybe a few weeks and it's brilliant. But then they're on their own and they're kind of, okay, all right, now what am I going to do with the information? So that's where your continuity can come in and fill that gap, because you can go in there and you can offer people hand-holding, if you like, over for as long as they want it. Okay, so all my programs are just basically subscribe and it's instant cancellation. You can stay as long as you like, as long as you're happy. Very easy to get out if you want to. There's no contract or anything. So all the power and the control is in the customer or the client's hands. But what they get while they stay is that continued inspiration, motivation and momentum. Because you know how easy it is to get excited, then you get a bit stuck and it drops off and so on. So having a continuity program to help you go through that, and when you get those dips, you can go back and you can get some help and so on. It smooths things out, and that's part of the appeal. That's why, another reason why continuity can be so powerful. Now, it's not good for really one-time problems. So just a couple of examples here. So things like pest control, right? Deep, burning need to solve the problem. People will pay good money to get rid of pests for obvious reasons, okay? But once it's gone, that's it. All right. Same maybe with something like, I don't know, a skin condition or something, like maybe acne or something. This is off the top of my head, but you can imagine those kind of things. Once people are very interested, get this problem solved. But once they've got rid of acne, they don't want to stay subscribed to a membership site or a continuity about acne, do they? All right. Maybe also things like with pregnancy, very big market, but you're unlikely to get someone subscribing to that for 7.5 years, like the example I just showed you. All right, so that's just common sense. Many markets are different. There are always exceptions as well. So some markets where I think, you can't sell continuity in that, and then I see something which actually is working and you get proved wrong. But generally speaking, it's a common sense thing. All right, so just bear that in mind. Now, what are the best models for continuity? There are many. You can sell, you can do recurring payments in many, many different ways. The classic one is a membership site, or I call this the vault model. So basically, imagine a big vault with loads of stuff in it, okay? So maybe some courses, maybe a load of resources, some tools, interviews maybe with experts, PDFs, audios, loads of stuff, maybe some support to support the customers. They can ask questions, like a forum. Okay, I've had a forum as well. I've done that. Or maybe these days you might do a specialist Facebook group. Whatever it is, basically a load of stuff, like a vault. And people can join it. And here they're not necessarily joining for weekly updates. All right, obviously we'll update it over time. All right, but that's not the main focus. The main focus is just get into this kind of Aladdin's cave with all this stuff and have all that resource there for whenever they need it, because there's so much stuff. And that's a sort of traditional membership site model. It takes some setting up, that depending on your scope and how big you want to start it. But of course, you just start somewhere and you start building content out. And over time, it's amazing how it builds up. And then when new people join, it's much bigger than when the first people join, and so on. Another great option, which is very, very simple, is a paid newsletter. So, for example, one PDF sent out every week with a newsletter in it, or every 2 weeks, or once a month. These all work very, very well. And if you can either do this live, all right, and just literally write one every week. Or you could have a sequence, module 1, module 2, module 3, and so on. So when you begin, all you need to do is write the first module effectively, or you might want to be prudent, write the first 2 or 3 for months 1, 2, and 3, or weeks 1, 2, and 3. And then as people join and start going through it and progressing, then you can add more. And when new subscribers join, they go through those same modules. So an example there would be something like copywriting, where you want to deliver a carefully crafted course, and PDFs obviously work well because copywriting is about words. Anything to do with writing, it could be creative writing or script writing. I had a client who was in that market in script writing for film and industry and so on. So this kind of format could work very well. Now you can go to video as well, like we're doing right here. So regular live training, webinars, or video. So there's a term, I don't use this in my business, but it's common sort of industry term, is office hours. So basically you do a webinar, maybe on Zoom, or even a private YouTube live stream like this for your paying members, and you deliver some content, maybe you answer some questions. Or you can do that in pre-recorded video. Again, I've done both of these, and it's really your preference, whatever you want to do. So that's all you need to start this continuity, is just basically you're just staying in contact, and you're doing something regular every 2 weeks. I do a session every 2 weeks in one of my group programs, or every month, or every week, whatever you want to do. And maybe over time you'll naturally add some more things and little side videos, or an interview, or some PDFs or whatever, and that can build up. But that's just optional. The other thing is audio. So this is better suited, I think, to some markets than others. Obviously, if you were doing a course on website building, or graphic design, or landscape gardening, then those visuals are quite important there. So maybe an pure audio format wouldn't work particularly well. But things like self-improvement, meditation, or I actually myself subscribe to a stock market commentary continuity program. So I pay monthly, and every day I get sent 20 to 30 minutes audio that I can listen to. I don't listen to it every day, but often when I'm doing a job, maybe building a web page with Thrive Architect or something, and I'm sat there moving graphics around and building the page, I'll have it on in the background and just listen to what the market commentary is. And that's just audio, okay? Or the primary thing that I use it for is just audio. So there's lots of different formats: PDF, live webinars, videos, audio. The world's your oyster. You can do anything, you really can, right? And there's just common sense, right? Considerations of what you want to do, what your preference is for the format, and what you think will help the customers and clients the most. So always keep their interests in mind, because if you do that, they'll get better results, they'll get genuine value, it'll differentiate you from all the other people who are doing a mediocre job, and that will feed back into your business with more results, and you'll get a good reputation, you'll sell more, and you'll make more money. So it's a win-win. Now, what about delivery? Well, you can have loads of different content protection or membership systems available. I use a couple here. MemberMouse I use for one program. I've got several others on product sites on Wishlist Member. And they just basically, when people pay, they get people get a username and password, and they can join up and so on. There's many more. Okay, so I've put some links in the description, but really, whatever you like to go with. If you want any help on that, hit the Facebook group. Links in the description as well. I'll be very happy to help you in the Facebook group with that or anything else. Now, you might not even need this. You can do continuity. If you're just going to deliver stuff over email, for example, a link to your audio file or a link to your PDF, then you could just do it literally through your email system. So something like I use ActiveCampaign or Aweber or MailChimp, that's fine. So you can always build up, and then you might put the archive of your sessions or PDFs into a protected area with, for example, MemberMouse, so that you can do all of that. So build up small. Don't try and build a massive, enterprise level system before you even get started. Just get going with the content and the sales. We're looking at sales next week, by the way. All right. So this is all about the content, what to sell, and then how to sell it is coming next week. So let's move on to coaching. Let me check in with everyone. Is this making sense so far? Can you tell me if this is all right? I'll just have a little break and sip of water while the comments come in. If you've got any questions as well live, please do type them in and I'll try and get to those. If you're watching on a recording or once this is posted on the channel, then go to the Facebook group. That's what it's there for. I'm in there as well, and I'll be more than happy to help you. So let's have a look. All fine, all good, great. All right, so let's continue now. Coaching. All right, so many customers and clients like and sometimes prefer things like nano products, which we talked about last session, courses, which we also talked about last session, continuity programs, which we just talked about. So many customers love that, and they like distance learning. They don't necessarily want to speak to anyone or be interactive. They just like kind of learning at a distance and getting information and going through it in their own time. Don't necessarily want to turn up at a certain time and be held accountable or anything like that. They just like working on their own, and that's great and fine. But some also want personal help and consultation to help them achieve their goals. So yes, many people will do courses and continuity and all that sort of stuff, but some of them are like, actually, do you know what I really want is someone to sit with me. I want to speak to them, ask them questions. I want this personalised for me. That's what I want. That's what I really want. Not everyone wants that, but some people do. A lot of people do. All right. So I mention this because I don't want you to think, and you shouldn't think, that like one-to-one coaching, for example, on a personal level, is the apex of the pyramid. It's not. It can be for some people, but it's not for the overall market. Some people don't want it. They just don't want it. They want a course instead, or they want to join a membership program. Others aren't interested in that, and they just want to speak to you, and they want to ask you questions. So different customers and clients have different preferences. So what we're doing here, talking about these different models and the pros and cons of them, is just taking account of that and delivering again what people want. It's very similar to, like, when we talked back a few sessions ago about dialing in desire or pinpointing your prospect's desire. Very, very important session that was, very early on in this course. But it's the same thing. We want to be delivering what people want in the right format, with the right arrangements, and with the right content so we can really help them. So how do you deliver coaching? Well, you can do it. The simplest way is unleveraged, what I call unleveraged coaching. Now, there's a picture of an old-fashioned telephone here, but of course you can do that on Skype, or what I use these days, I used to use Skype, but I use Zoom, as pretty much everyone else seems to be doing at the moment. So that's literally where you set up a Zoom session and you speak with your client. What you can also do is add to that, though, is you can do semi-levered or partly leveraged. So you're still speaking with a client one-on-one, maybe on Zoom, but maybe when you bring in new clients, you might have some documents that you give them just to help them out. You might even create a few videos. Maybe you've done 5 videos or just one video, which just helps them get up to speed. What that does is it means you don't have to explain all the basics and all the same things to each and every client separately. Instead, you can say, brilliant, great to be working with you. First session on Tuesday, 10 o'clock. Before we do the session though, it'd be great if you can just watch this video I made or read this PDF. That'll answer a lot of questions. It will get us up to speed so we can make our time pay off, and make the most out of our first session, get off on a good footing. So it's partially levered, takes a lot of work out of your hand. So that's the one in the middle. Now the full leverage is what group coaching. So when people join, they get onboarded. So the way I do it is with a little video. All right. So talk about what to expect, what the next steps are, and so on. Then training course. Or I have several training courses built in to my group program. So that means I don't have to teach each individual person one by one. It's now one to many, and people can learn through the courses. But then, for that, remember about the continuity stuff we were talking about, the continued momentum and support and inspiration and clarity, because people get foggy. Whatever that people are doing, you get foggy thinking after a while, don't you? We all get it. So having that support there from coaching regularly is brilliant. Same with the continuity. So the regular coaching sessions allow me then to interact and answer people's questions and deliver more content. So this is a group session, and there is now no one-on-one contact at all. That's what I call fully leveraged. Now you can move up and down this scale as you like. So let's say you were starting out and you wanted to get into coaching. You could have one client. You obviously start with one client, whatever you do, and you just do that unleveraged, just speak on the call. And then very quickly you'll realise, do you know what? It'd be really handy to have a document to give to new clients. So you write up one page, then you add that in. And then after a while, it's like, just record a video on this bit because it's really something that a lot of people get stuck on, or another PDF or something. And you start moving to a semi-levered or partially leveraged state. Then you might think, do you know what? I've got quite a lot of time here, clients here, and I kind of, I like doing one-on-one, but it's a bit sucking my time. I think what I'll do is do regular live sessions, maybe on Zoom webinar, that's what I use, or I've used GoToWebinar, whatever you like, it doesn't matter with the tools. And you're delivering that then to the group. So you might continue the one-on-one with the people you've already doing it with, but for new people who come in, well, those people, they will just go into the regular group sessions, okay? Now, beyond that, if people come to you and go, yeah, that's fine, I love it, but I want one-on-one, okay? I just want a one-on-one. You can still do that, but you'll probably then at that point increase your prices, okay? Because your time's more valuable. And I love one-to-one with the right clients. I'm very selective who I work with, but it does take quite a bit of time. So, and that's an opportunity cost. So you start have to consider what kind of business you want, what you like doing, what the economics are of doing these different choices. But the great news is the main point here is that you are not boxed into anything. That's one of the brilliant things about this business. You can move up and down this scale at will. You can do whatever you like, all right? And you never box yourself in. You can always transition to something else if you know how, if you have the knowledge. So you might be scared, right? Because coaching, consulting, what it's not about is you having a godlike knowledge of everything. That's what people are scared of. People think, I don't know enough. How can I coach people? I don't know. It's not about you being, knowledgeable. That's not really the value in coaching. Obviously, you've got to know your stuff, but you don't have to know the answer to everything. No one does, really. What it is about, though, is you making suggestions for the client to consider. So you never say, what you should do is this. All right, coaching clients, consulting clients don't want to hear that. All right, they don't want to be told what to do. They want your suggestions. So you say things like, well, one thing that you could consider, or you say something like, have you ever thought about doing this? And they'll go off on their own, because of course often they have thought about that and you're there as a guide. Another massive thing is helping them see their blind spots. We all have these in our businesses where we're so close to it. You're in the middle of the forest, so you can't see the wood from the trees sometimes, and something really obvious, just you need somebody else, even if they're a non-expert, like your wife or your husband or your partner or a friend. They can come along and say, well, why don't you do that? And you go, oh yeah, right. And that person doesn't even know anything about what you're doing. So that's an example, right? That's not a level of expertise. That's just somebody else being there to show you what you were blind to all along. That's a big point, a big value added with coaching and consulting. Offering your opinion and insights and guiding them on an efficient and productive path. We all have a tendency to wander off into the jungle and get lost sometimes. So this is one of the reasons coaching and consulting can be so powerful. All right. And occasionally I buy in consulting for my business as well and speak to other people for specific things. Very valuable. And being there to support the client's inspiration, momentum and clarity. That's what we talked about with continuity. But here it's much more personal. You have a deeper relationship with your client. Okay. Even if you're working in a group situation, that's much deeper than if you're just, giving it out through a continuity program. Now, what about combining all of these models? So remember what we talked about. Last time we talked about nano products and online courses. This time we talked about continuity, recurring income, and coaching. All right, so there's 4. What about doing them all together? Well, or doing a combination. What I would say, and I can't overemphasize this enough really, be very cautious of taking on too much, especially if you're starting out. Just start with one thing. Don't create a grand plan to do everything, because you'll just flatten yourself. But you can absolutely create a recipe of all these ingredients. It's one of the great things about this business. It's up to you to decide. So whatever you fancy or don't fancy, just do that. So for example, use my business as an example. This morning, today, I did a 60-minute one-on-one Zoom call with a private consulting client. Yesterday, I did a group coaching session for my monthly continuity. I've created and sold several online courses. That's over time, obviously. I have several nano products, with one currently in development right now as we speak. I have another Vault style, remember the Vault that we talked about, monthly membership continuity as well. So again, be careful not to dilute your efforts and spread yourself too thin. Over the years, I probably have, if I'm honest, but I do genuinely enjoy these different models, and that's why I do that. You will find some people who only do coaching, or they only have a subscription service, or they only create online courses, and that's brilliant. If you're one of those people, that's great. If you're a bit like me and you like mixing it up a bit with one or more of these ingredients, creating your own recipe, that's fine as well. But don't get into it, right? I didn't start by doing everything. I just got into it. I thought, oh, this is good. I enjoy that. Well, I'd like to do a course. Coaching is good. I love consulting, and it's sort of spread out, right? Obviously over several years. So don't create a grand plan. Find your way and just remember that it's your business. So be free to work however you wish. That's the most important thing. So Trevor says you don't. It's interesting that you say you don't use ClickBank much anymore. Any particular reason? What do you use now? I use Thrivecart now, which is by far, in my opinion, absolutely brilliant. It's a brilliant shopping cart. That's what it is. It's a shopping cart. If you're totally just beginning and you're on a smaller budget, then probably I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're serious and you really want to do lots of stuff with all this continuity and selling and affiliates and all this sort of stuff, then it's great. It's really good. Part of the reason is transaction fees. So with Thrivecart, it's a paid product, so you have to buy it, but then there's 0 transaction fees. So if you use something like ClickBank, they take a little small percentage of every transaction, which doesn't seem a lot, but over the years I've paid tens of thousands of dollars just in sale fees, per sale transaction fees. So over the long term, it's more economic using something like Thrivecart, but ClickBank, again, haven't got time to go into all the ins and outs, but something like ClickBank, there are many other systems. I don't really use that particular thing myself at all anymore, but they all have pros and cons. So the main thing is you've got a good product that people desire, and then you can choose your selling method and your shopping cart. So I don't suppose many of you were expecting this. You're probably wondering if you're on the right presentation here. But here's a question for you. Everyone who's on live, please do answer this. Can you draw? Let me know. Just put yes or no. Just that question. Can you draw? Let's see what people say. Now, while we're doing this like live survey, what I can tell you is that if you'd have asked me a short time ago, I would have said absolutely no. And quite a few people are saying yes, which is good. Okay, but most adults also say no, they can't draw. But interestingly, most kids say yes, they can. And if you said no, and I think, there's a real mixture. Oh no, yes, I'm surprised. There's a lot of people saying yes. Well, good for you lot. That's great. But I certainly would have been in the no camp. If you said no, is this really due to your lack of innate talent, or is it simply a self-limiting belief? So what this is really about is not drawing. It's about self-limiting beliefs. And this is a classic one, because most adults will say, no, I can't draw, I'm useless, when they see whatever. Well, this is a picture that my daughter, my 5-year-old daughter, drew a couple of days ago. And this was her second attempt at doing something like this. She's never tried anything before. Now, obviously I'm biased, right? But I don't think that's bad at all right? Certainly for a second go. And the way we did this was we went through this YouTube video, all right? Now, I've put a link to this YouTube video in the footer. And all I'm asking you to do, please do this. Watch the first 4 minutes, or it's about 4 minutes, 13 seconds or something like this, and try it. I was amazed, right, when this guy walked through what he walks through, what you'll see in the video. And after you've done that, if you had said, no, I can't draw, right, like most adults, then just ask yourself again, was that actually just a limiting belief, all right, after this experience? And then think about all the other limiting beliefs that we might have. Remember, the basis of all this success is your foundation in mindset and productivity. And a big part of that is these things we tell ourselves, that we can't do this, we can't do that, or I'm not like that. I'm not an artist, I can't draw. And actually it turns out that a lot of the time we've never really tried. So I really encourage you to do this. Links in the description. By all means, post what you've got, scan it, post it in the Facebook group if you like. I'd love to see that. But whatever you do this. It's only going to take you 4 minutes, right? And it's a really fun thing to do as well. So that's what we're going to end on. And that's it for this week, actually, for today's session. Now, next week, we're going to be looking at the same models. So nano products, courses, coaching, continuity, but we're going to be looking at how to sell them. So that's where we're going to be bringing in the marketing. This week's all about what to sell and what you can sell and what the options are. Next week, we'll be starting to look at some marketing principles and different models. Because as we said, what you sell, how you sell something depends on what it is. If you're selling a nano product or a book, let's say an ebook, that sales process is very different to if you're selling coaching or continuity. So what are the differences? How does that all work? Well, I've sold all of these things online, and next week I'm going to show you. So have a great weekend, and I know we've got a day to go, but I hope you have a really good one. Please do like this video. If you have enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate it. If you hit that like button on YouTube, that would be brilliant. If you subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon as well, you'll get notified of future updates. Join us in the Facebook group, links in the description, and don't forget you can access all the slides and the transcriptions to these sessions, which have been kindly done by Karen Jackson, great transcriptionist, and that's all on the resource page, which you will find, guess where, a link in the description. All right, so that's it. Thank you so much. We will be back next week. Stay safe and take care for now. All right, see you soon. Bye.